CFB Paint. We are back again. It is the one you've all been waiting for, our win totals draft for the 2023 college football season. We've got the whole gang here. Corey, Steve, Mark, Brian. Woo! I'm pumped. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Let's get into it. But before we go into the draft, a couple of things for the listeners. Number one, I feel like we need to go and recap quickly what happened last year. Corey, as the winner, go ahead and take us through your process. Don't reveal any of your strategy for this year, but just take us through the victory and the roller coaster season that you had as the win totals draft winner.
Yeah, so last year we did a snake draft, right? And we picked the top 10 teams each. So we end up with our top 40, right, across the board, and we're trying to get the highest win total. Last time we did a random number generator. I ended up with the 4th pick, so I felt like I was at a disadvantage. But after week probably 4 or 5, felt in a very good position because I had hit home run after home run after home run. I think by week 5 I had 3 losses across my 10 teams. I don't know if it was a lot of luck, a lot of what did I feel at the time. I don't know. Don't think I can replicate that again.
Who were some of your big winners?
My biggest winner was Florida State, honestly. I picked that one last. I thought they'd be a better team than most people did. I actually had them winning. I think I had them winning close to 9 games. I did not have them winning 10 games on the season, but that's what they won with the bowl game. So I ended up okay in that regard. And then, I hit the home runs with Coastal Carolina, and then I can't even remember everybody else. I happened to pick all the right teams and teams that didn't go against each other. That was also a good.
There you go. Limit the guaranteed losses.
Exactly.
The only other big sleeper pick I remember is Brian getting Tennessee as Mr. Irrelevant and a 10-win team going 40th overall in our draft.
Yeah, no, that was a big one. I don't think they were quite Mr. Irrelevant. They were in my 10th round, but I wasn't the last pick in the draft. But yeah, definitely a steal there. I did check last year and saw a notable TCU went undrafted. If you'll recall, they went 12-0 in the regular season. So there's an undefeated team that we missed. So there's a good chance, even with the 40 that we pick, we miss a really, really good team again this year. But hopefully not another undefeated team.
Mark, go ahead and give us your thoughts on last year's game, and then I'll bring up the rear because I did in the final standing.
Yeah, I edged you out. Just squeaking in above. Went probably too heavy on the military teams last year. Air Force panned out. Navy did not. Let me give you a preview. I might be going with the same strategy again. And I think my love for Wisconsin did not do me any favors last year as well. That was another stinkeroo.
We should go back and look and see which team that someone drafted had the most fired coaches, because I'm counting 2 on yours already, Mark.
Yeah, I think we did do that when we recapped at the end of last
year. Oh, did we?
I think I might have done that. I can't remember for sure.
Amazing. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get into it. Like Corey described it for the listeners, so I think you'll be able to follow along. What we're going to do first is actually decide the order. We actually were going to defer to Corey as the winner of last year, but he has elected to do the random number generator once again. I guess it worked for him once. Maybe it works again. So, Brian, take it away. Go ahead and share the screen. The way that this is going to work, as Brian pulls this up, we'll just pull a random number generator between 1 and 4, and we're going to go in order of age. So Corey will be 1, I will be 2, Mark will be 3, Brian will be 4, and whatever the first 4 iterations that aren't a repeat, that will be our order, and we'll get right into it.
Sorry for the delay here.
That's good. I can fill the time. So while we're waiting on that, we talked last week about Northwestern. There haven't been a ton of developments, but we're at Media Days. Did you guys realize that? Oh, hallelujah. We are so close. And I think coupled with Media Days, fall camp, and a little vacation that I've sprinkled in there, the season will be upon us in any minute. So I am thrilled to have it back. It's been too long. Brian's got it pulled up. Let's go ahead and get order, and then we'll jump to the board.
All right, so number one is going to be Corey as the eldest. So we're going in age order. 1 is Corey, 2 is Steve, 3 is Mark, 4 would be myself. Go ahead and go. Mark with the number 1 overall pick.
I was number 1 overall pick last year.
I get the number 2 spot. And Corey at the 3 spot, which leaves Steve drafting 4th and having that turnaround on the other side of Mark.
All right. Mark, you're on the clock.
Give me the dogs. Georgia. Easy pick. It's always nice to go first.
You sure you didn't want Fresno State?
Oh, they were close second, but I'll stick with Georgia. If they're around next round, I might go that way. I'll collect every Bulldog I can. Mississippi State too.
Brian, do we have a screen where we're filling out the teams across the board?
I am doing that. Brian, do you want to share your screen with that?
Yeah, I can do that.
That's great.
Okay. UGA goes to Mark, number 1 overall. Brian, you're on the clock, but we'll give you just an extra minute to pull up the screen so that the folks at home can follow along. Maybe you want to zoom in so we can just see the first 7 or so columns to the left. Alrighty.
Sorry, this was on my screen. I had my draft board up on my screen, so let me switch that over real quick.
Yikes.
I'm gonna
Don't you
go.
want to show us your draft board?
I don't want to show you my draft board, but I'm gonna go Michigan with the number 2 overall.
All right, Michigan. Thought process.
Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, all pretty high on my list. Probably high on your list too. I don't think they'll come back around to me, but I think Michigan's got the lightest schedule after Georgia of the elite teams this year. And lightest is very relative when you have Penn State and Ohio State, but I think they've got, what it takes to get 11, maybe 12.
All
Yep.
right.
I'm with you on those top 3 teams, and I'm going to pick Ohio State coming in third. So.
Oh, goodness. All right, Ohio State. Oh, whoops, sorry, I'm wrong. Flipping
You're
between
forcing
my own
Steven to
draft
decide
board.
whether he wants Alabama or not.
This is tough. That's kind of, you're not wrong. Like, it's like, oh, do I dare? I think I'm going to go for number 4 overall. Give me the Trojans. Give me USC as my
right?
No. Give me USC as my 4th pick. Number 1, it avoids any conflicts with yours at the top. And reigning Heisman Trophy winner, year 2 of Lincoln Riley. I expect them to maybe make another jump. They've done well in the transfer portal. It's a little bit of a risk reward. I feel like the Pac-10 or the Pac-12. Wow, way back in the day. Pac-12 has a lot of potential teams at the top there that might beat up on one another, but I'm choosing the Trojans. For my 2nd pick here, gosh, so last year, here's where I'm conflicted. I went boomer bust last year, and I busted big time. So do I do what I think is, most likely?
Follow your heart.
Actually, I'm going to go LSU. Give me the Tigers. We'll talk about the other teams, I think, as they go through, but that's a tough one to choose 2 right in a row and then know that you're not going to pick for another 4 picks, 5 picks. But give me the Tigers. I think they've got a tough road. They have really, really good talent, and I expect them to win the West.
So it comes to me. This is always hard at the top 2. I'm going to go Clemson next. I feel like they have an easy off schedule and, or out of conference schedule, sorry.
I'm really pleased with that one because I'm going to go Florida State at 7. They're right next to each other on my board. I have Florida State just above Clemson. Obviously, they play each other, and Florida State has the LSU game. Clemson has a kind of brutal back half of the schedule, including North Carolina, Notre Dame, and South Carolina, who, isn't top tier, but they beat Clemson last year. They always can prove to be some trouble. Happy to grab the other power, what we assume will be a powerhouse in the ACC this next year.
The only reason I did not pick Florida State over Clemson is Florida State plays 4 teams that have a higher blue chip ratio than them, and Clemson plays 0 teams that have a higher blue chip ratio than them.
No, that's a really good point.
All right, dropping to me. Alabama, I feel like, is the Brady Quinn of this draft. They're just stuck in the green room, and do I take them now? Do I leave them?
Correction, now.
I think I'm going to go with Alabama. Give them to me at 8. And here is where my draft board gets a little interesting. I think there's a number of teams. Do you go in on Oklahoma? I don't know. They burned me last year. I'm a little bitter. Texas is a good, an interesting look. I think Oregon is an interesting look here. As much as I hate them, and I don't, I think I might regret this pick. Give me the Horns. I'll go with Texas.
All right.
That's a good pick. I thought about them earlier, frankly. I waffled between them and LSU. They got the easier schedule, but I trust LSU a little bit more.
A lot.
Brian, you are on the clock.
I've gone to the Big Ten and the ACC. I'm going to dip into the SEC, and I'm going to take my darling from round 10 last year, the Tennessee Volunteers.
All right, let's pause to talk about that. Everybody else high on them. I had them slide way down my draft board because I don't trust it. There's not enough history there. New quarterback. Corey, you're shaking your head like you agree with me.
Yeah, I have them. I went through their schedule. They're, according to DraftKings, they have 9.5 wins. I have them more pegged at 8 myself. Yeah, it's an unproven quarterback who has an arm. We've seen it other places. Quarterbacks that have arms sometimes don't always pan out. UF. But like you never know. I mean, they may be great. I think highly of their coach and his ability to scheme players open. We saw that against Alabama time and time again. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely betting on the offense. If the offense can hit on a regular basis, then they can win a lot of games. If not, then it could be an ugly one, but I'm willing to go with them again for sure.
All right, so I'm up. This is going to be an odd pick, but give me Tulane. UCF has left the AAC, and who else do they have to fight? They have their quarterback back. They have their coach back. They'll be in good shape, I think.
That's a good one. I am a little concerned about some of the skill talent that they lost. Tyjae Spears, the running back, was really, really special for them. I think they had 3 or 4 guys drafted off that team. But yeah, their road potentially gets easier with some of the attrition in the American Conference.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. Is like, who else do they play? I mean,
fair assessment. Now I've got 2, and I have some decisions to make. And this is tough because the way I went through this, I kind of said like, okay, my estimated wins, and I understand this. Like, I've got like variance on like, I think this is probably where it sits, but like there are some teams where it's like, they could win 10 games. They could also win 4. So I'm going to go with the 12th overall pick. I will give me the Oregon Ducks. I hate it.
that was my next pick. Bummer.
But so I will take Oregon with 1, and then with the subsequent pick, I will take. Let's see here. Give me Penn State. That's my next one. I don't love picking a third team in one division, but again, if you subtract those 2 out, I feel like they should be favored in basically every game.
I'm impressed you laid off Washington for your Pac-12 pick. You're going back to the Pac-12, and I know you love Washington. I thought you'd be going there.
Especially as a Kalen DeBoer guy, like
I do. The thing is, for me, I think Oregon can withstand an injury at quarterback better. That's kind of where it boils down to. Washington could probably win 12 games. Penix goes down. I don't even know who that backup is. I don't know who it is. I know 3 or 4 guys on Oregon's too deep at QB, and I know that they want to run the football and they're going to play pretty good defense. So I feel better about them in a night where their offense isn't paying dividends. Their defense can probably win them a game or 2. So that's the thought process. I'm in that rivalry. I'm all Husky.
That's funny. I'm looking through my draft board real quick. Just a second. I got to find my Pac-12 rankings based off what you guys have said. Oh, and I can't find them. Oh, well. Steve, you talked me into it. I'm going to go Washington.
All right. Dang it. All right. Washington is off the board. I got to update my own pool with who everyone's picked so I don't try to pick someone that's already been taken. Brian, you are up.
I'm up, and I think I'm going to go with our... Do we have anybody in the group? Oh, we do have Tulane from the group of 5. Oh, man, I've got 2 that... I'm going to go Toledo. I'm going to go to the Mid-American.
Ooh.
I think they've got a nice, easy schedule for them. A lot of winnable games there. Potential for good boom, but also, not a sure thing. A little bit of a risk, but I feel comfortable with that pick.
I was hoping. Well, now I've got a decision to make. So I'll tell you the two teams I'm looking at, but I will not take both of them because I've already got Texas in the Big 12. Oklahoma, and I love Kansas State. I think Kansas State is a sneaky pick, returning a quarterback. Trayshawn Ward transferred there. Got a good running back. Had a great season last year. Returns a lot of pieces. Do I go them or Oklahoma? I think Oklahoma's ceiling's a little higher. I will go.
They bit you last year too, though.
I know. Well, I'm going to go Kansas State.
Oh,
I like that pick.
betrayal.
I like that pick a lot.
Just like
that's a
they
strong
typically
one.
do, they upset Oklahoma and went on the draft above it. They got a pretty soft schedule. If you look at it, they've got Texas, and then other than that, Oklahoma State. I don't know. I expect Oklahoma State to be worse than DraftKings does, Vegas in general, but it's a pretty soft schedule. And so after taking Kansas State, I will take Wisconsin in the other side of the division. Let's bet on the Fighting Luke Fickles and see where it takes us.
By the other side of the division, you mean the Big Ten now, right?
Yeah, whatever. I
The
forgot.
schedules still kind of follow the sides, though, don't they?
Well, I'm saying Kansas State's in the Big 12.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, the other, yes. From when you referenced taking three people in one division.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
I see what
Yes.
you're saying.
Big Ten
I didn't
East already
transition
has.
that well.
Yeah, 3 off the board already in the Big Ten East, and that's the first one from Big Ten West.
What's the thought process behind that pick, Mark?
Well, West is always fairly soft, so it's going to be Wisconsin. Somebody's got to win football games in that division, so I think the floor is low. They're not going to be worse than 7 wins. They're probably 8 pretty easy, and I think there's a ceiling to go 9 or 10, depending on how the offense shakes out. I think it's a conference if you put some, if you play some offense, you can score some points. Michigan, Ohio State have no problem doing that. Now they got more talent, but there's not a lot of elite defenses you got to play there. So it's kind of thought they generally sit at the top of the division, and I think they upgraded through the offseason. So
Yeah, no, I think it's a good call there, and potential boom team for the year. I'm going to go ahead and take the scraps of what you left behind, but I'm happy because I wanted Oklahoma. So give me the Sooners at the 18th pick as my 5th pick overall, or my 5th round pick.
I'm afraid I'm going to regret that, but we'll address that at the end of the season.
OU's the first team that I'm projecting for what next year is, not giving credence to success last year. All my previous teams I've selected did decently well in 2022. The Sooners are for one where I'm like, okay, I'm really betting like Brent Venables. I've seen you do good things with defense. I believe, given better materials, you will do good things. But we'll see when we get there, and that's the hope anyhow.
Corey, you're up.
Well, to me, I noticed last year I didn't draft a lot of Group 5. I drafted all Power 5 except for Coastal Carolina, and I feel like my mind's going more Group 5 here. I know they're not the favorites to win Conference USA, but I think they have a good chance of having a higher win total than Western Kentucky, so I'm going with Liberty. I like the pickup of the coach from Coastal Carolina. Yeah, I'm excited to see where they go.
Awesome. Yeah, they're right there, right near the top of my board as well. That's a good pick. Let's see here. This is where I feel like the draft can be won or lost. Is like in these okay, we've got who we think are most of the favorites in at least the major conferences. I'm gonna go first. Give me the Troy Trojans, loading up on the Trojans. So give me Troy with the 20th overall pick, halfway through the draft.
Should we call you the Trojan man?
How are we feeling? Let's take a beat. How are we feeling, everyone? I'm feeling bad. I'm not gonna lie. Like right now, I feel like I am losing this thing by a mile.
I don't like
I'm not gonna lie to you.
liking Group 5 teams, but I mean, it is what it is.
I feel like I might be crushing it, and I feel like I might come to rue that statement. But my team is Michigan, Florida State, Tennessee, Toledo, Oklahoma. Like I feel like it's pretty strong, but I don't know. There's a lot of teams on there.
I
that
don't
are,
think
like,
there's any
hype
big
teams for the
losers
year.
in that group. I don't think you've got a 5-7 team there.
I hope not.
Which
But we
at
didn't
this
think
point in the
Texas
draft
A&M was
last time
5-7.
I did. Yeah, At this time last year I had I think maybe 2 even this deep into the draft already.
I think I'd already
I
picked
just-
Miami by this point last year.
Yeah, they were right in the middle. I remember being like, "Oh my gosh, is Miami gonna fall to me?" And you took them the pick before me and saved me from that. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I still lost, but Mark, how are you feeling?
Not great. I got Georgia, Alabama, Kansas State, Texas, Wisconsin. I really only have one team I believe in, and I've drafted 5. So, Alabama, they've got a low floor. They're going to win eight football games, but it's my second pick in the draft. Like, I hope they're better than that. Texas, it's like, you tell me they win 7 games next year? I believe you. Wisconsin, same thing. Kansas State, same thing. So I got 3 people whose floors are really low, I think.
It's so strange for you being not confident, and you have the last 3 national titles on your squad. So maybe that'll help calm your nerves a little bit. All right, let's get back into it. It is again my pick, and I have just selected the Troy Trojans on the previous pick, and now the question is, where do I go from here? I think I will go and take a little bit of a flyer on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So that one's one that again is a bit. I just don't know. I don't feel like great about that pick, but I do think there's a high ceiling there. I mean, that team was not good last year, and it beat Clemson pretty badly. So there's opportunity there. They do play Ohio State. I think they play Clemson yet again this year.
They have a hard schedule.
The schedule's
SC.
tough, but let's see what Sam Hartman can do there. I think that they upgraded at quarterback. And I think they're going to upgrade up the skill positions. I trust Marcus Freeman to field a salty defense.
Do you think they upgraded there?
No, they did not. That part they didn't. But again, better personnel with the same plan of attack, I think yields better results. Just maybe muted progress there. So that's where I'm going with the Irish 21 overall. Corey, you're up.
I'm kind of picking between 2 teams. We haven't picked a team out of the Coastal for the ACC. I know that they're getting rid of their divisions, but their schedule still stays the same. So I think I'm going to pick North Carolina out of that place. They have a great offense. They lost, Josh Downs, the wide receiver, but if that defense improves a smidgen and doesn't let up 49 points against Appalachian State, they win a ton of games. I mean, they still went 9-3, I think, last year or something like that. So.
Yeah, a pulse at all would go a really long way for that defense because again, Josh Downs is a big miss, but you really think you have something special at quarterback, and that offense did not struggle.
They've been recruiting so well over the last 3-4 years that their talent is better than most, except for Miami in the Coastal. So.
Yeah, it's a good pick right there. I realize it.
Corey, I think that's a mistake, man. I think that thing is a sinking ship. And I understand they have the best quarterback, arguably, in the country. But I don't know about anything else. So we'll have to see. That one, I'm interested. They aren't even on my board.
That was my next pick.
Top 40?
Nope, not in my top 40.
How many wins do you think they get?
7.
Still make my top 40.
They made my top 40, but I was thinking like I'd take them round 9 or 10 if it was around.
There you go.
I do believe in them more than Steve. Like I think there is boom-ish potential there. I'm going to go with James Madison from the Sun Belt.
Oh,
I like that call.
Pick.
My other Sun Belt darling. Is Troy in the Sun Belt? Is that right?
They are.
I think I had them one up on my board ahead of James Madison, but I figure I'll get in that conference while the getting's good.
All right, that drops to me.
It does.
First pick for me is easy. Give me the Air Force Academy.
Dang.
Great last year. They've won 10 games, 3 of the last 4 seasons. And the one they didn't was a shortened season, but they were terrible. And they were 500 in the shortened season. But They got it rolling up there. Got a new QB, but I believe in the program and what they're doing. And like I said, always feel good about taking the men in the service academy. I want to take Utah right now so badly. The Pac-12 is just brutal. They have Oregon, SC, Oregon State, and their out of conference is Florida. So that's a little. Just give them to me. Give them to me. So I think there's a chance. I think they've got kind of a lower or a higher floor. I'm going to have a bunch of 7-win teams. That's a pick of my heart, not my head. But Cam Rising, it's a quarterback you want. He's above average quarterback. The defense under Kyle Willingham is always strong. Whittingham is always strong. So, and I forget the running back who had his kind of breakout at the end of the season. Steve-O, give me him.
Jaquindon Jackson.
Yes, your boy from Texas.
Yeah.
He's going through his first offseason as an actual running back. He switched partway
yeah.
through the season last year from quarterback. So
now Go ahead, Brian.
So I was saying, be it far from us to doubt Utah over and over again, the two-time reigning Pac-12 champs. You doubt them at your own peril.
That schedule's brutal.
It is.
I don't love it. That was the only reason I had them. I have them on my board, but further down still. We hadn't got to them yet. Rye, who you picking?
I'm going to go into Conference USA and pick out Western Kentucky. They do have Ohio State in the non-con, which is a loss. I think everything else is a potentially winnable game on that schedule. So
I'm going to follow Mark's lead and go into the Mountain West, and I'm going to pick Boise State. I feel like they open up with 2 losses, and that potentially could set this team up to really, really not do well. But they should win the majority of their games after that. I think you play what? Is it? You play Washington and then UCF as your first 2 games, but then you don't play anybody else overly hard except for Fresno State later on in the season, and then AF or Air Force a little bit later, who's probably like the next rank. I was looking at the most likely to win the Mountain West, and Fresno State and Air Force are the next 2 after Boise State. So I'm gonna go Boise.
All right. We're getting to that point in the draft here as we shift. I will conclude the second to last round with this pick, and then there'll be 2 rounds following. Is that right?
3 rounds. So we have 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, 8, 9, 10. 3 more rounds.
Gosh. 4 picks left. I'm going to go with let's see. This is where I'm going to start taking some potential boom or bust type picks. Did y'all know that there's a team that won 10 games last year and their starting quarterback is now going to be 3rd string? Give me the Beavers, Oregon State. Oh, whoops. Sorry. Nope. So I'm going to go Oregon State. I'm a little heavy. I don't love picking teams in the same division, but they only have to play once, and it's a guaranteed win, I guess, for me. But it's also a guaranteed loss. But love what they've done. Again, DJU, maybe the starter. There's whispers that their true freshman might beat him out, and I trust Jonathan Smith to field a team. Love their running backs. Love what they're doing offensively. They're a salty defense. They did lose some pieces, particularly on the defensive front, or in the defensive front 7. But I got faith in what Oregon State's building. So give me the Beavers. Another boomer bust pick that I think has a lot of potential here. Give me the Louisville Cardinals. I think the schedule is nice. I might be falling for the same thing when, I fell for Miami last year where I thought they could potentially have a really special season in year 1. The schedule is awful friendly to Louisville. Jeff Brom is bringing back a QB familiar with that system. They have weapons on the outside. I don't know exactly what they're going to be like defensively. They lost quite a bit to the transfer portal. They bring back some. But I just think that one is kind of a value pick toward the end of the draft, and kind of be upset if I saw it go away before my next set of picks. So there's my picks, and we are on to Corey.
I'm struggling with this. Where do I go next? Dead air is always great for podcasts and whatever else. I'm kicking myself because like DraftKings has Oklahoma State at 9.5 wins, and I'm like, do I really believe in them? Huh?
They have it at 9.5
for Oklahoma State. That's
what
be
I'm
Oklahoma.
seeing as well.
That's
You're not seeing that, Mark?
There's no way.
It's both. Yeah, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, both 9.5 wins. In fact, Oklahoma might only be 9. No, they're both 9.5. I just don't know how you
show at
believe
DraftKings Oklahoma State is at 6.5, but I need to refresh this page.
I was going to say, if you're seeing that, now's the time to lay down a bet immediately.
Yeah, under. Hammer that under.
Before that, I was hammering the over on 6.5, but 9.5 seems high.
That's what I saw.
Yeah.
You saw
with
it
you, Corey. Yeah.
I'm like nervous about it though. If Brian, you're not seeing that as 9.5 wins, I'm trying to find another spot that saes it.
I don't have it pulled up right now, but I didn't when I last searched.
Again,
either way, I don't think seeing it now would change my mind.
6.5.
So. My opinion.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, give me UCLA. I had them last year. They did me well. I'll do them again this year.
So that's a good pick. I think that's a good value pick kind of toward the end of the draft. I think you're probably safely at 8 wins and potential for 9 or 10.
Yeah, and
depending on how some of those new additions shake out.
I think that'll just about lock me all the way out of taking a Pac-12 team. You could reach out Washington State, but and that's one. Something good could happen, like with the chaos of that conference and how the relative parity there. Anything could happen, but I'm gonna take the third scoop into the Mountain West. I'm gonna take Fresno State.
I think it's a good pick.
You always have. That's a joke.
For context there, back in the days when the NCAA video game existed, it's coming back. We'd always create a player every season. We play each of our own teams. We play in the same career or same dynasty mode. And I lost a player recruiting-wise to Fresno State, and so I just became the head coach of Fresno State. I quit my job. I went to go over there. We won some games. It was a significant step down, but we won some games. It wasn't as bad as the time I left for the Louisiana Tech job. That was the biggest step down I ever made, for sure.
At some point, I got coached in Florida A&M, so it's some of our careers. We've all had rocky careers here and there throughout the NCAA video games.
But with Fresno State this year, sorry, real quick. With Fresno State this year, they're out of conference schedule and they're Power 5 opponents. They have Purdue, who looks to have a decent drop from what they were last year, as well Arizona State, who's building something new under Kenny Dillingham with a huge transfer class. So I think they have pretty like a chance to win those games against Power 5 opponents, and then it's a matter of can they beat out their competition within the conference.
Yeah, Brian, you could have kept talking. I don't want any of these teams at this point. So I'm thinking a little, I would love to go get South Carolina. I just don't think they can replicate it. I mean, if there's a quarterback I'm betting on in the league, it's probably not Spencer Rattler. But the guy's got, he's a gamer. He could play. Iowa, I've got this, everybody who listens on a regular basis knows how much I love the Wisconsin-Iowa football game. It's my favorite football game of the year that's not played by FSU. So I'm really tempted to take there. I don't think anybody else is gone.
I'm pretty sure you liked Purdue too,
Purdue was just a 1 year thing. I mean, I watched enough Charlie Jones in the first 3 weeks that I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm in love. Give me Iowa. I can't say no.
I was gonna take that with my next pick after you went through these two. I was a glutton for punishment. I took them last year to my own detriment, but it's like they got me believing again. It's like they can do something. We'll see.
I know. The question is, do you trust Cade McNamara more than you trust Francis' son, whatever his name is? And the answer is probably not. But here's to hoping.
You're up again, Mark.
I know. Do I go Oklahoma? I'm thinking Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, Miami. I hate all. Like I said, I don't want to draft any of these teams because then I'm going to have to report on them later. Which is the piece I'm most concerned about.
Well, just put a caveat. I did not believe in this team, and then you draft them, and then that way, if they do well, you're like, oh. But if they do poorly, you're like, I didn't believe in this team.
I don't have anybody in the ACC, so as much as I do not want to do this, give me the Miami Hurricanes.
Whoa.
I like this too.
Yeah, I had them on. I've got this list of 5 teams that I'm debating in my head, and I'm kind of hoping that your picks, the subsequent picks, maybe make the decision for me, and that's one of them out. So, I think there's I think there's a chance they take a big jump.
Maybe. It's just last year we were looking at the amount of talent there, and we looked at this, what we thought was a very soft schedule, and they performed very poorly. And this year they still have that talent. The level's high. Cristobal's done a good job there, but the schedule is much tougher this year than it was last year. So they'll have to
Agreed.
not only take a step up, but a step up and a half to realize that. I'm gonna go with. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go with. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this.
Do it.
Let it fly.
At least talk us through the decision, Brian.
Sorry, I'm looking at 2 teams in the AAC, who will kind of. I think teams will still play second fiddle to Tulane in that conference, but there's 2 that I expect can contend, and my debate is kind of over what does their out of conference schedule look like? Because there's one team that I think is better, but they play significantly better competition.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Forget, I'll go with them.
Pull the trigger.
Give me Southern Methodist.
I was already typing it in.
They've
got
got
I was typing it in
Oklahoma.
on the wrong sheet, but yep.
Oh, you're good. They've got Oklahoma and TCU in the non-con, and that's, kind of puts a ceiling on what they can do. But outside of that, I think they.
But did you see that Rhett Lashley's getting the band back together there at Southern Methodist?
It really is.
All their skill talent was at Miami.
They pulled
and
it all over
joined
from
him
Miami.
there.
Every player who wasn't succeeding under Cristobal is like, oh, well, now we're going to see Jalen Knighton running the ball for the Mustangs. So I think there's a chance for some fun stuff.
Brinson, Brashard Smith, the entire skill position offensively went over there.
Yeah.
I just think it may be a referendum on Cristobal if they go there and they end up doing awesome and Cristobal still struggles. People will be like, well, let's just get rid of this guy and bring back Lashley. We had the guy on campus. We fired his boss. Should have
Hey,
promoted
John,
him.
send money in for this guy.
Yeah, bingo.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure out who I think should go next. I find myself drawn towards the teams that we did well last year that I chose, like UCLA, Coastal Carolina. But Coastal Carolina's got to switch in coaches. And so, my heart's not quite there.
Corey, Kansas had a pretty good year last year. You could go, go to Kansas.
I'm not going to lie. I thought about that. I really did. And you may make fun of me for that, but I definitely thought about that.
Have you seen my team? I'm not making fun of you for anything.
Say again?
I said, have you seen my team? I'm not making fun of you for anything.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's like Mark said, where do you go from here? Everything else is like... I think I will go with. I think I go with Maryland. You play Ohio State, you play Michigan, you play who else? There's one other loss, Penn State, but everything else is kind of winnable there. So I'm gonna go there.
They were fun to watch at the end of last season. I think
Yeah, and I'm hoping that
there's some
carries.
fun
That's what I'm
stuff
thinking.
going on there. Yeah.
Okay. This is tough just because I only have two left. These are my last two, and I'm gonna live or die on these. I I am gonna take TCU with my next pick. I don't think they quite have the same drop off that a lot of people do. The guy who will be starting for them this year at QB was actually the starter last year, beat out Max Duggan. His name is now escaping me. Goodness, if anyone wants to help me out there.
Chandler
Chandler Morris, thank you.
Morris,
Yep.
there it is.
Chandler Morris, yeah. So, I mean,
Sorry.
I think that they got some pretty solid talent in the transfer portal as well. I just don't see the drop off being, I don't see their wins being cut in half, right? They did play a lot of close games, but they know how to win close games, and I put stock in that, right? If you've been in that situation before, you don't panic. So give me the Horned Frogs with that pick. The last pick, man, I am torn between a couple here. And I am going to go on the redemption tour for one Tom Herman at Florida Atlantic. The basketball team made a deep run. Who knows? Maybe their football team can make a deep run. I like him reuniting with Casey Thompson. There is some talent on that team. And Tom Herman, I think, is a guy that can rally the troops. I think it never quite worked out at Texas, but it worked really well at Houston. I'm hoping he can recapture the magic down in Boca Raton.
Man, now it comes back to me, and I was already indecisive. It's kind of hard for me. I'm debating between a few teams. My heart wants to go back to Coastal Carolina. A&M, I don't think it'll be. I think it'll be interesting to see how they do. They just have such a hard schedule. It's like, how do you pick yourself to pick them? So I'm gonna go with. You know what? I'm going out of left field, and let me check this real quick. Nope, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go with Coastal Carolina and not be interesting. Hopefully just go for the bare minimum, secure 7, 8 wins.
All right, Bryce, second to last here.
Second to last, and I think I'm just going to pick what I see as a potentially green pasture where it's like this team will need things to fall the right way, but there aren't major obstacles in the way. I'm going to go with the Ohio Bobcats. Iowa State is the best team they play this year. They don't face Toledo in the division or in the conference, which is by all means the best team in the conference. They do face Florida Atlantic, but like this is one of those things where it's like they're not really that high, like highly rated above the people that they play regularly, but their schedule's also pretty soft. So if they can play to their potential, 8 wins is possible. If they play a little bit above, I think really they could end up with a really nice schedule by the end of this. So fingers crossed. We'll see how that goes.
All right, Mark, Mr. Irrelevant, close us out.
Yeah. Let me.
Do we have Mark?
Can you not hear me?
Oh, there you are.
You're back.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. For the last pick, do I go with BYU? No, that's a joke. Of course I won't.
Colorado. No one knows what they'll do.
I'm interested in the A&M pick, and I'm interested in Texas Tech, potentially.
That one's the one I like. Steve, you want to give your thoughts on Texas Tech for a second?
No, I'll do it after. We've got after this. We'll talk about teams that didn't get drafted.
I think to round out team G5 who, because I didn't pick any of those guys. I guess Air Force I did. Never mind. I got to come up with a new team name. But give me Texas Tech.
Mark, you have like how many of the Big 12?
3. Kansas State, Texas, and Texas Tech.
Do they play each other? Texas Tech and Texas do, and Texas Tech plays Kansas State. Yeah, and Kansas State plays
Texas.
both of them. Yep. So all three of them play each other.
Before we break down teams, which we can certainly do, who else had someone that they were like, man, I might have picked this if I had more picks?
I wanted less picks.
Mark wanted less picks. I can go if no one else has one that's like a burning one.
I can go real quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
UTSA was on my list. They've got Tulane, Tennessee on the schedule, but
that's
by all
what
means,
scared me off.
That's the same reason I opted for Ohio. Which Ohio, like that may be the team that comes to bite me. Like I could easily see that team winning 10 or 3 games, but I figure this isn't about the safe pick when you're going at number 10. Hopefully, you're getting somebody that can pop for a few wins and put you over the line for a win in the draft. South Alabama was on my list. When I was talking earlier about AAC teams that I was choosing between, it was SMU and Memphis, and I went with SMU over the Memphis pick. Ole Miss is a team that's like
right there.
What's that?
I think you chose right there.
I think so. I'm feeling good about it now that I look back on it. Ole Miss is one that I expect them to lose to Alabama. I expect them to lose to LSU. I expect them to lose to Georgia, who they have this year. I don't know if that's an every year cross rivalry, but they have them this year anyhow. But I expect them to be favored in most of the rest of their games. So that was one that I had on my list, but I didn't opt for. And then, honestly, I did have Kansas on my list. I couldn't go for it because the schedule was too tough, but they're a feisty little team, and I like a team that fights to the finish like that every time. You need the quarterback to stay healthy, but I don't think that was crazy for Corey. They're number 40 on my board. Obviously, I ended up going with someone else.
I didn't end up picking them, though. I'm sad I didn't. I was thinking about it.
But now it's nice because you can root with them without any guilt. There's no I root for them, and then it feels extra bad.
Yeah, that's partially why I could not pick Miami on my board, because I did not want to be rooting for Miami and just hate my life, too, at the same time. When they won, it would be happy but not be happy. So I'm like, you know what, go North Carolina. If they win, I'm happy. If they lose, I'll be pissed off. It's fine.
That exact situation happened with me in Miami last year, where I was like, oh, good, they play Middle Tennessee State this year. It's a guaranteed win for me. And then it's like, I can't even enjoy the blowout by Middle Tennessee State as much because one of my lock wins just got taken away.
All right, so what are people's worst picks? What do you think your worst pick is? And let's all pick up what their worst pick is.
Well, before we get there, I had a couple others I wanted to just highlight as others that we may regret not picking.
Yeah,
A&M, I think it goes without saying, right? Like Texas A&M, it kind of goes without saying. We talked about that.
Real quick, with Texas A&M, we heard the comments from Jimbo today about whether Petrino.
You mean no comments that were made today?
Hopefully he'll make the play calls and have suggestions. What do you mean he'll make the play calls and have suggestions? It's either he's making the calls or he's suggesting. That's it. There's no... and hopefully? What the heck does hopefully mean? What an insane... I'm so excited. This year's going to be so fun with Texas A&M.
Oh, yeah.
The way Jimbo Fisher is treating the media is like exactly how he treated the Florida State media back in 2015 when he was like out the door.
Anyway, sorry, Steve.
No, you're good. Just a couple other ones that I want to highlight that I think have the potential to make us kind of regret not choosing them. I had Purdue and Illinois on mine. Purdue, I love the pickup of, now I'm going to blank his name.
Walters.
Ryan Walters, the coach, of course, but the QB
from California.
Texas.
Oh, Hudson Card.
Yeah, Hudson Card. Love Hudson Card joining them there. Also, the offensive coordinator is, Air Raid guy was at Texas.
Graham Harrell.
Was Graham Harrell? That's it. Yeah, it was I was gonna say he's the QB that beat Texas forever ago.
Threw the ball to Crabtree.
Crabtree, yeah, Crabtree's the one everyone remembers. But I like that fit. I like that pairing. The last couple at Kentucky, I think if they have an offensive line, Liam Cohen is back as offensive coordinator after being gone away a year with the Rams, and we saw what a difference that made for Will Levis. Also, they have Devin Leary, a quarterback who I think is pretty special, was at NC State, has some injury history, so that gave me a little bit of pause. So there's again, that one's a team that I could see winning 9, and I could also see winning 4 or 5. And the last one I'll say, Utah State, I think, is a sneaky pick in the Mountain West. I think I love their QB depth. I think Cooper Legas is probably the starter, but they've got 2 or 3 that I think are really good at that level. The schedule is a little bit kind of what scared me off. Again, they start at Iowa, and then they just play the who's who of the Mountain West, including at Air Force. They play James Madison, which is not an easy non-conference at that level. They do get that one at home, and then I'd love them playing UConn and probably count it as a win, but it's right after playing that, and they have to travel all the way across the country, so I'm a little reticent to do that. I still think there's an opportunity for Utah State to potentially make some noise, but again, a high variance team where I could see them winning 5 or I could see them winning 9, and I just didn't feel comfortable with it. So, a couple other thoughts there. I love Corey's idea. Who were the worst picks here? Call them out.
Yeah, like call out your own worst pick,
or everyone
and then
else's.
can call out your worst pick.
Steve,
wanna start with?
I don't care.
filter them by team.
Yeah.
I guess starting with the first overall pick, which means me. Oh, what is my worst pick? Which ones aren't my worst pick? My first couple were good.
How do I filter in sheets? I forget. There it is. Okay, perfect. Sorry. Let's go to Mark.
Yeah, there you go. Bam.
I feel
I
like
like it
the
too.
worst pick on here is. I do feel good that it is one of the last 2 picks. It's Miami or Texas Tech. Well, that's one of the last 3 because Iowa has a low floor, I think, as well. Those are probably the 3 I'm most nervous about. I have no faith in that Iowa offense to score any points, and you have to score some points to win football games. Like if they can put up 25 points or 28 points, they could have a 9-win season. They averaged 18 last year. I'm not sure if it's. I know the quarterback upgraded, but the offense did not. So we'll see. That one I'm nervous about.
What about Air Force? I think Air Force is like they. I don't know.
Oh, are you out on Air
I'm not
Force?
sold on
I thought that was a great pick. I was ready to take them next.
Nah, I'm not in on Air Force all the way. I won't touch the military academies though. So
No,
I had
think
to
Air
scale
Force
back
is-
from last year. 2 was too many.
I think on the whole though, Mark, this is a pretty good board.
Yeah, you have the 2 most recent national champions, the favorite in the Big 12 to win it. The 2-time reigning Pac-12 champ is on your team as well. So I think that this is more competitive than maybe you built it out to be. And you do have some gambles toward the end, but that's what I want at the end. I don't want someone that's like, oh, they're between 6 and 8 wins. I want someone that might lose, may end up or winning only 5, but has the potential and the talent on the team to win 8, 9, maybe even 10 if things go right.
That talking point on you have the 3 national champions, but they're with only 2 teams. All right, if Georgia could play every game, I'd be fine. But they can only play 12.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
think
let's go
your
to
only
Brian.
like if I were to critique it, your only big slip up here is I think with Texas Tech, you took a swing on a team that its success is at the detriment of your other teams. Like they could. I can see a world where Texas Tech has a breakthrough year and is near the top of the Big 12. I like Texas Tech, but you have Texas and Kansas State on the roster already. But the pick in a vacuum by itself is still a good one.
I'm high on Texas Tech, but I think they're a year out still. Give them one more year.
All right, well, I'll see. I'll see you again next year.
All right, Bri, let's go to your team next. Here it's pulled up.
So I got very group of 5 heavy in my team. I started off with with some top teams in the big conferences, and then quickly petered out to where do I think I can find the value. And I think Ohio is easily the biggest risk. I think that's the one that I can see the floor falling out of. Oklahoma also makes me a tad nervous. I had them rated above Kansas State, but I can see a world where they're beneath Texas Tech and Kansas State. Mark Texas Tech 10th. Of course, it's wins we're looking at, not where you are in the Big 12 standings. But I like my team a lot. Just a matter of, do people like the Group of Five teams or not?
I did not realize you went this heavy until we just filtered it. You're like, oh, there are no teams in the Power Five up here. That's an interesting strategy. You have 4 Power Five teams, if I'm counting right, and 6
Yeah.
Group of Five.
So I wrote down in my notes for the draft, I was like, unless you can get USC, don't pick a Pac-12 team, and unless you can get Clemson or FSU, don't pick an ACC team. I just, there were a couple where, and those are for different reasons. Pac-12 is because it's so competitive. I don't think I can rely on any of those teams to really, for sure. I mean, Oregon's probably going to get 10-ish wins, maybe 9, with Washington as well. But like, I was too worried about things cannibalizing there, and it's like I need to go to places where there's more clear hierarchies, where I know where my losses are, I know where my wins are. But the trouble is, like, there's no ceiling on picking an Oregon. They could feasibly go 12-0. There's a ceiling on a Western Kentucky. They play Ohio State, so it is its own kind of risk. But we'll
I
see.
think the worst pick here is number 3, but I said that in the Tennessee. Just don't trust them.
I think there's a lot of risk in both your second and third picks. I'm glad you pulled Florida State off the board for me, so I didn't have to fight my emotions. I just I got to see it again with Florida State. I think there's potential for them to win all 12. I also could see them winning 7 because I think we're easy to remember the highs and slow to remember the lows. Where it's like this team lost to NC State, who didn't have a QB.
The depth of the team is
like they're an injury or two from critical places, either linebacker, safety, or quarterback, that their team is completely devastated a little bit. And like I already pointed out the blue chip ratio, like you beat Florida, but Florida was handicapped a ton by their quarterback play in that game. Miami was handicapped a ton by their quarterback and their offensive coordinator. I don't think Miami's going to be the same Miami as it was last year. I think they're going to bounce back and be a much better Miami. I think Florida's at 5.5 wins. Like, I could see that they win 8, and I could see that they lose 5 or win 5. Like, that team scares me no matter what, because I trust Napier as a coach. But I mean, he did lose to Vanderbilt, so who knows?
And quarterback play is going to be hampering them this year, I'd expect as well.
Yeah, so there's just too many ish games on there, like four like games where they could lose all 4. And that's not even going like to a Louisville or anybody else,
Yeah,
The
I don't think they have
offense is
Louisville on the
so
schedule
dynamic.
this year, but I just think there's greater depth in the offensive line, greater depth in the defensive
There
line,
is.
a lot more ability to control up there. There are a couple shakier positions, but I think that's one of the reasons last year they just poured everything back in the secondary. We'll just play more people back there, lighter box, and I think they have greater ability to do that this year with the people they have on the defensive line. And a little bit questionable.
Yes,
but Braden
that's
Fisk,
what-
who's coming in at DT, also played a lot on the end at Western Michigan last year. I'm honestly not worried about that Florida State pick. Like, I think that they'll get a decent amount of wins. They may not be a playoff quality team, but I think 10 is a very likely outcome for this year.
What's your floor for them? That was my issue was the floor, not necessarily like what I suspected, but my issue is like what could the floor be on at number 2? And Steve took Texas A&M last year like number 2, and his floor dropped out, and that's what I'm like. I can't have that in my top few picks.
See, and I don't think it has I think there is a floor of 8. I think you could very feasibly only win 8 games for Florida State. I don't see it going beneath that this year. And I understand all of your
struggle
skepticism.
with maybe Wake Forest, who they lost to last year, and or Duke. Like I think there's some teams in the meat of that schedule that people are glossing over, and I'm like, I feel like they should win those games, but they should have won some of those games last year that they did not. Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, I just can't. This offense was good last year, and Mike Norvell's a good offensive coach. He schemes up things, and they've got way more tools this year than they did the previous year. Their wide receivers are much better, or not wide receivers. One wide receiver, but Jaheim Bell coming as a pass catcher as well. I just think it's not any faith in Florida State's ability to stop elite teams or teams that do well. It's their ability to outscore teams at will, which I think they should be able to do for most of the season.
I wonder when you run into quality defenses that'll be the issue. Like LSU, Clemson, like they have a supreme talent. That's what I'm worried about too. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm down to lose those 2 games. If I get 10 wins there, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Let's recap Corey's team. Let's go ahead and pull them up.
Oh man, I've been mean on everybody else's team. I hate. Actually, I was just mean on yours. I wasn't necessarily mean on Mark's. I really do not like this team at all because I don't like Group 5, and I went 1, 2, 3 Group 5s. Is that right? I don't know. I think my weakest pick.
4. You got
4. I have. Oh, Boise State, yeah, and then no wait, yeah,
Coastal, Boise State, Liberty, Tulane.
Yep. I don't like my last 2 picks a ton, to be honest. Maryland showed that they had chances, but couldn't be consistent. Coastal Carolina has a changeover in coach. They had a good culture. Can the culture sustain them for one more year? Yeah, but I mean, I like the Ohio State, Clemson. I think those are steady picks. The Washington's going to give me, 9 wins probably. Liberty's probably going to be up there. I know Steve hates my North Carolina pick. Yeah, you can, whatever.
I like the pick. I was taking them next if you didn't take them.
We'll see. I don't trust them.
So, we'll see. I don't know. I feel like most of my teams are like kind of a consistent in the middle, not trying to shoot for the very top, not shoot for the very bottom. I know Steve's like wants his teams to get high, and I'm looking at my floor for my teams right now, especially at the bottom. I'm like, I can't have the bottom fall out. So
nice.
What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a little. I wouldn't have picked Clemson with my second pick. I don't think. I think I had them more toward the middle of the draft. I
think Clemson wins the ACC.
The defensive. They certainly could. I don't. Winning the ACC to me could be a 9-3 or a.
They don't play anybody in the offseason though, or in the out of conference.
They've got Notre Dame. And they've got South Carolina.
Notre Dame and South Carolina, who they lost to both of them last year.
And they also have the other top 2 teams in the ACC. They play Florida State. They play North Carolina, or the other projected top 2 teams.
At Miami, there's some losable games on that. I just I like that pick. I don't like it at that. I like Clemson. I don't know if I like them second round. I
wasn't going to get them at 11 though. So
more toward the middle of the draft is what I was going to say.
You think you can get them at like 19 or 20?
That's where I would have taken them. I wouldn't have taken them higher than that. Yeah, I know, but I'm fine with that. So.
But I like Corey's pick there because I think the floor is low, or the floor is extremely high. I mean, 9 wins, and they're perennially the best team in the ACC. They probably aren't going to lose every game that is a coin flip. And then when you start to look at the teams under them, who would I have taken above them? Florida State, you can flip a coin on that one. Steve, did you take SC at 8, or did you take SC as your first pick? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, they're my first pick. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure who's sitting under them that I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely would have wanted that team above Clemson. I think it was the right pick.
Yeah, if you look at DraftKings, only Florida State had a higher win total above Clemson.
Okay.
At the time.
If we're looking at the right DraftKings.
Also, I
did Oklahoma State one, and that one does look funny, where a lot of the other sites I found said 6.5. I saw one that said 8. 9.5 was like an outlier. And I saw 2 that was DraftKings, one that had the 6.5, like Brian referenced, and one that had 9.5. So
this is partially why you got to follow your heart, because I was like, none of us are taking them. We didn't take them. And I hadn't taken them till about the 4th or 5th round, and I was like, we're passing this team up. Like, should I even consider it? Like, so.
Yeah.
I'm glad I followed my heart and didn't do that.
Let them Brady Quinn and Will Levis late until, in this case, you run out of time.
What do you guys feel about that Tulane pick that early?
I like it.
I like it. I think that's a good pick.
I think, Steven mentioned, like, you lose Ty J. Spears, who is awesome. I don't care. I was going to take him. So I think I was totally on the same page where you were with Tulane.
Cool.
Yeah, I think they're a strong team. I do think they're probably not as good as they were last year, but I don't think it matters with the way the schedule is now getting a little bit lighter as teams leave the conference. That's a good pick. I would bet on Willie Fritz, and I bet on Michael Pratt. So good choice. Any
I
other
have a lot of
comments?
new coaches too. I've noticed that. Well, not a lot, just two new coaches. Tulane,
New
or
coach
not
at Liberty.
Liberty and Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
So,
That's why I stayed away from Coastal. Is like I think that coach is kind of conservative, but
yeah,
outside
that's
of
why I
that,
took him at
they
my
should
10. I'm
they
like,
should run the table. That's the only thing that gives me pause.
yeah.
I think that they'll do wonders in the Sun Belt, but I got nervous. Let's look at mine. Let's look at the losers. Let's do it right now. LSU I took too high. Like I feel like I fumbled that choice there. Should have gone with someone that doesn't have quite the same road. They again play.
It's so hard being at that
West.
4-5 though, because they definitely would have been available to you at 12. I don't think.
So that's one I think that may come to haunt me. I think I was choosing between them and, gosh,
Clemson.
let me scroll up. Them, I consider taking like both Oregon and Washington from the Pac-12 right there, but I don't know. I probably should have done that. I think that one has potential to come back and haunt me just because the schedule's pretty rough.
Dude, I love that Oregon pick. I was about to pick it right before you picked it, so.
I feel good about Oregon. I feel okay about USC. Like that one's one that I think they will take a step forward. I need the defense to come through. Penn State, I feel really good about that pick too. I think that is probably 9 or 10 wins. I don't think it's 11, maybe, but
yeah.
Like, hey, if I can get 10 wins there, that's pretty solid.
But I don't see. I agree. I don't see below 9.
Yeah,
agreed.
So that's where I think with them and with LSU and with Oregon, I had like 3 or 4 that I can count on, and I think Troy kind of falls in that same bit. And then I started, I think, reaching a little too much.
The Notre Dame
where,
pick
like,
is one that I had them, but I had them way low down on my board. Just like you have Ohio State, you have USC, you have Clemson, but you also still have within the ACC. You don't. I mean, the ACC is not a super deep conference, but it doesn't have any fairs where you're also playing Louisville, you're also playing Duke, you're also playing NC State. This isn't Boston College. Like it could have been an easier route with the teams that are automatically scheduled in the ACC. On top of those 3. I would consider most likely losses: Ohio State, USC, and Clemson. Though they beat Clemson last year, so what do I know? I felt like that pick was a little high. I felt like they deserved to be in the draft, and the ceiling is there, But that was one where I was like, okay, I'm glad that one went off the board earlier because I would have waited several rounds before I got around to him.
I would say your 2 that Oregon and Oregon State were both the one that got away from me. If I had to pick 2 picks in the draft, I was disappointed to see get snatched. Even though we didn't pick that close to each other, so I still needed them to fall a couple. Those were I think the only 2 times where I was like, okay, these are my next picks, and they came off the board. So that was a bummer. The Oregon State pick, I love. I mean, I know that the Pac-12 is brutal, so the ceiling's tough. But they're always salty on defense. They've got one of the best quarterback rooms in the country, potentially.
I think so. Yeah.
Returned 4 out of 5 linemen for a team that was really, his offense was the ground game. They might only get better this year, so I love that pick.
And they don't have a terribly hard out of conference schedule either.
Yeah, it's pretty friendly. If memory serves me right, I don't have it right up.
They got like SDSU, some team I don't even know, San Diego State, and then I'm looking at logos.
Yeah, hang on here. I'll get it. I'll pull it up. So Oregon State plays. Wait for it.
Like you avoid USC.
Goodness, yikes. Yeah, So here it is. Finally got it up. So Oregon State starts against. They start against San Jose State, win. UC Davis, win. San Diego State at home, probably a win. At Washington State, not a super tough road environment. No offense to those in Pullman. Then you host Utah, so tough game. At Cal, like them there. Host UCLA, again tough game, but you're at home. Then you get a bye week. At Arizona, don't love the travel, but it is off of a bye week. At Colorado, both very winnable games. You should win those games. I think you're going to win those. Host Stanford, and then you close out with home against Washington, and then on the road at Oregon. So there's some losses there for sure, but there's a lot of meat on the bone for them to.
Yeah, that one
stack
you
up
might
some
pull out
points.
like 8 wins that late in the draft. No problem.
Yeah, pick I'm jealous of moving on from Oregon State is Louisville. Notre Dame on the schedule. They have, I think, Duke and Miami. They avoid Florida State and Clemson in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
That one could be a really good one. That could be
And
a
North
decently high
Carolina.
value. And
Yeah,
North
and they
Carolina,
get
right?
Notre Dame. They get Notre Dame at home. They do have to play at NC State and at Pitt. The Pitt environment, I don't think is that good, but I do think Pitt's a good football team. Get a bye week before hosting Duke, and Duke I think will be a tough team, but again, you get them at home off of a bye week.
Yeah, they end the
On the
season
road
with a
at
lot of
Virginia
home games.
Tech. Yeah,
Too.
on the road at Virginia Tech, or excuse me, no, sorry, Virginia Tech is at home. Virginia's at home. You go to Miami and then you host Kentucky. So like, there's just a lot of opportunity if that team gels right. It's a boomer bust pick, but I felt like that late in the draft, like I might be able to snag 9 or 10 wins with them if they play up to their potential.
No, I think that
They
was a
could
really
win
good
5.
one.
It might be me falling for the trap, but I didn't want to fall into like the Wisconsin one. I'm a little less bullish on. Like I just that it just sounds so much like Miami last year that I'm like an abused dog that the first time a nice owner reaches out to pet him, they still like flinch. So I'm nervous.
It's the once bitten, twice shy. It's understandable.
Bingo. All right. Any parting shots? I think this was looking forward to it.
I honestly just want to say who I think will win and versus who I think will lose.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I looking at the teams, I think Mark's gonna win, and I think
the reactions from y'all all make it feel like I'm going to win, but I don't. I'm less convinced. I think I've got a lot of teams that I could put a bunch of 7 or 8 win teams out, and that won't win.
I think Steve and I are potentially like the ones that are flirting at the bottom.
I don't know that there's a clear bottom for me. I'm feeling really cocky. I'm
feel
feeling
more
like I got
middle
a
of the
great
road.
team.
I feel like you are middle of the road, Steve, but I'm saying I think I'd be last. But I think if anybody's gonna fight me for last, I think it's gonna be you.
That's true. Well, I'm competing against myself from last year, not against y'all.
I don't know. I'm significantly more bearish on the group of 5. Like, there's going to be a couple teams that come out and win 12 games, but Brian has 6. And that's where I think, I don't know. We'll see. I don't see Corey and Steven being the bottom 2. I think Brian's got to be in there.
Fair. I definitely didn't go into this draft thinking I'm going to take 2 from the Mid-American. Like, that wasn't the plan. But I like
that
the ones
is
I
the
picked.
land of 7 and 5. Like every single one of them, I feel like they all go 7 and 5 all the time.
Yeah, maybe so. Except Toledo doesn't. Toledo was good for me last year. I hope they'll be good for me this year.
True.
Ohio
that was
is-
the one I had. That was
Oof.
the one I had on my board was Toledo from that
Yeah.
conference. It was like, okay, if they're late in the draft, they're available. I'll take them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll
And
see.
Brian said late in the draft. Round 4 seems pretty late. Let's get him on.
It's getting late early.
Hey, I stand by that one. I think that's the right call. I might have
I
taken
am
him before
so
last year. I have
pumped.
to check.
I am so pumped for the season, guys. You have no idea. And this just makes it even more exciting. If there's nothing else, feel free to jump in if you got something else. If there's nothing else, we'll wrap. Pay attention to our socials. If you made it this deep into the recording, thank you. And also, hello to future me. But we, follow us on our socials. We have some cool stuff coming out now, like with some previews. The rest of our schedule, kind of from now till the start of the season, is going to be a lot of previews and predictions for the different conferences, awards, coaches, the whole bit. So looking forward to it. Thanks for the support, and we'll see you next time on CFB Paint.